Turn on the flashing lights and sirens, Charles suggested. It will be very exciting.
No, don't,
Alice corrected him.
We don't want to draw any attention. We keep a low profile.
Focus on caution, said Volonic, not excitement.
I sat between him and Tamret. She wouldn't meet my eye, and though I wanted to take her hand, I got the feeling she wanted to be left alone. Being drugged and nearly experimented on seemed pretty traumatic, and I wanted to help her, not be locked out. To take my mind off of all of that, I turned to my former upgrades and began searching for new skills we might use, things that could help us right now. After looking through a bunch of things I didn't understand or couldn't use, I stumbled upon something possibly very useful. You know, I'm pretty sure I can get this van to fly, I said, using, my brain.
Oi! Steve shouted. I'm driving here.
I'm just saying, I think I can create a localized gravity dampening field which should be able to keep us stable while someone else generates propulsion. Obviously, we don't want to go zooming around the city in a flying police van, but if things get hairy, it's good to have choices.
I cannot help but think it is a mistake to run too freely with these newfound powers, Dr. Roop warned.
If the fads try to recapture us,
Tamret said, her voice dark,
then the mistake would be not using everything at our disposal.
That is certainly true,
Dr. Roop said.
However, unless there is real need, I do not think we should meddle with abilities we do not yet understand. Unless...
He looked at Tamret.
Did they discover anything about your capabilities? Is that what they were doing to you?
She shook her head.
It's what they were trying to do. They were definitely probing and experimenting, trying to learn what I could do and how they could stop me if they had to. But they didn't get anywhere. I figured out that there was a way to use my nanites to shut them out. They didn't learn anything from me.
That was pure Tamret, I thought. She might have saved us all, maybe the entire galaxy, by making sure Nora Price didn't learn what we now had within us and what we could do.
How can we hope to understand our new abilities if we don't use them?
Charles asked. Dr. Roop nodded.
It's a good question, but I think study and experiment under safe and controlled conditions is the best approach. As I told you back at the Hidden Fortress, there is something about the code in your upgrades that does not seem right to me. I would hate for anything to go wrong unexpectedly in a life or death situation.
I don't think we need to worry about that anymore, I told him. We've already used the new abilities under fire. We show up and we pretty much eliminate any threats we come across.
That sort of thinking will lead to sloppiness and disaster, Dr. Roop warned me.
Normally, I'd agree with you,
Misan said.
But Zeke may be right this time. I'm not saying we should let our guard down, but so far we haven't faced anything we couldn't handle, including fads. We've got overwhelming force to use against them.
From the seat in front of me, Alice turned around.
So, we get the ship and that's it, right?
I nodded. I knew Alice wanted to stay and look after her father, but I was still hoping that when the time came, she might change her mind. As we approached Central Park, I told Steve to pull over. I accessed my high-range scanning ability to take stock of what lay up ahead, and I saw that the fields the Fads were using as a temporary spaceport were all well-defended and heavily patrolled. There was no way we were going to be able to drive up to the spaceship and take it. I explained all of this to the others and told them we were going to have to go the rest of the way on foot.
I hate to point this out, Steve said, but we're not exactly going to blend in.
We don't have to, I said. Look, some humans are going to see you, but they already know the planet has been invaded, so they'll just figure you're some kind of other invader. They're not going to look at you and think, I bet that's some outlaw kid who's been working against the Fads. I better go report this.
He's right,
Tamret said gruffly. She didn't sound like herself, but at least she was weighing in.
If this one isn't a stealth operation, we need to go in and get it done as quick as possible.
Why isn't this a stealth operation?
Volonic asked, clearly irritated that we weren't doing things his way.
Is there some reason you could not have rescued us under the cover of night? Does this planet even have a night?
Yes, Volonic, I sighed. Earth has a night. It gets dark and everything. Unfortunately, our timetable got pushed ahead.
Zeke started a fight with a bully,
Misan said.
You really must learn to control your temper,
Dr. Roop told me. I wasn't going to get into this, Look, stuff happens. You can't always control every little detail. What I can control now is how awesome we all are. So let's go steal a ship and get away from this planet, since that's the only way we're going to be able to liberate it.
So, we simply rush ahead, guns blazing?
Volonic demanded.
That sounds like madness.
In the absence of Nyana, Charles observed, the role of C-3PO will be played by Volonic.
Totally, I agreed. I then sent everyone the data I'd been collecting this whole time. I had tactical layouts of every FATIC positioned in the park, including military personnel, weapons, and vehicles. Upload the file to your HUD. All the hostiles we'll encounter are tagged as glowing red, like in a video game. Our sensors are monitoring their movements, which means we'll know where they are at all times. We can keep track of every unmanned weapon, barrier, and obstacle, so this should be simple. We raise our personal shields, we go in blasting non-lethal power, and we get out of here. It's kind of brash, sure, but if anyone has a better idea, I'm open to suggestions. Charles was busy examining the data on his HUD.
This is amazing, Zeke. How did you find out how to do this? I haven't had nearly so much success in discovering the specifics of our new abilities.
I shrugged. You learn by trying. I hoped there would be stuff like this, so I searched until I found what I thought would work. Me-san nodded.
Okay, I'm impressed. I hate to say anything nice about you given how bossy you're being, but you nailed this.
I felt myself relax a little. It was good to have everyone on the same side. We are so used to being outnumbered and outgunned, to always being behind the curve, that we keep thinking we're the underdogs, but we're not anymore. We're the overdogs. Let's go mess with an empire. I thought this was a pretty good speech, so I yanked open the side panel of the van and stepped onto the street. We made pretty much exactly the sort of splash you would expect. People stared and pointed. There was some screaming. A child pulled on his father's hand and said he wanted to hug Dr. Rube. We ignored it all and entered the park, feeling good about our chances. That said, I knew things were about to get complicated. The area was too large to dampen all communications without creating some kind of major alert, so there was nothing to do about people snapping photos of us. I figured it would be maybe 30 seconds before our images started showing up on Twitter and Instagram, which meant any fad monitoring human communication networks would know we were on planet. At very least, they would know unauthorized aliens were on the loose moving towards their spaceships. The danger dial had just been cranked all the way up. We entered the park, and my HUD showed 3 fads patrolling about 100 feet ahead of us. Steve, Tamrat, and I snuck quietly ahead, and each zapped one of them. Easy enough, but I'd done my homework, and I knew the fad soldier's status aura would report if they lost consciousness. Their movements were also probably being monitored by some sort of security system, so if 3 guys suddenly fell asleep, someone was going to notice. Alice and me-son were in charge of tweaking the nanites in their auras to give false readings. Once we knocked them out, the soldiers would continue to register as conscious and mobile indefinitely. At some point, a clever monitoring program would notice that they seemed to be walking in the exact same pattern at the exact same place for over and over again, but I hoped to be very far away before any red flags went up. We steadily worked our way to the interior of the park. We would advance about 100 feet, take down FATIC patrols, and alter their status so no one would know we were there, and then do it again. It was slow and methodical work, but it felt familiar, like clearing a level in a video game. And it meant that we were, piece by piece, eliminating all resistance. I wanted to have a little breathing room while we picked the ship we were going to steal. Ideally, we want something that was with long-range capacity and strong offensive and solid defensive structure, but also a ship that could be operated with the smallest possible number of beings. There weren't enough of us to handle one of the larger ships. After exactly 14 minutes and 34 seconds, according to my HUD, we cleared the outer perimeter and were moving into the main landing area. 7 ships sat on the field, and now there were only 4 guards remaining. From what I'd been able to binge learn about FATIC operating procedures, several of the patrols would already be a few minutes overdue, and the remaining guards would soon start to get worried. We needed to move. This whole time, Steve had been accessing a FATIC database of information on all the ships, and now he gestured towards a saucer-shaped, long-range shuttle.
That one's probably our best bet.
I nodded and messaged the others that it was time to move in. The 4 of us, me, Steve, Tamrat, and me-son, took down the guards almost simultaneously, while Dr. Rupe and Volonic held back. Charles and Alice were working to tweak their auras and keep what we'd done from showing up on anyone else's monitor. Phatic Operation Forces had way more security checks and protocols than anything we'd seen back on the prison world where we'd rescued my dad, and it would be better not to face them. I wanted to be on that ship and headed away from the planet in 5 minutes or less. It had been a long day, and we'd accomplished some incredible things, but it had all been so easy. I can't even say that I walked toward our ship. I strutted. I felt equal to anything, and not only was I not afraid of what the Fads might throw at us, but I was looking forward to it. And then, as we approached our ship, they threw some stuff at us that I actually didn't like all that much.